Hello, beautiful people. I think I'm live. Just let me know if I am. Send me a message to see if you can hear me and see me. I'm live. Yep. So welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for watching. Today I'm going to talk about something really important to my work and also for me personally, that we can have this deep-seated shame and guilt, and it has profound effects on our health, our mental health, on our physical health. And it's really important for us to understand how we can actually, well, the origins of this, first of all, and how we can transcend it. So I'm going to be referring to a very important body of work from Griffith, Jeffrey Griffith. I couldn't remember he's a biologist, Australian biologist, and his body of work was based around the book called Freedom. Let me just bring it up on screen. And how it's so important to see and understand that this has a profound effect on our health. Where is it? Profound effect on our health, and can't seem to find it. Book Freedom from Griffith. Where is it? Where is it? Screen. So that one. Share my screen. It's not working. No. Share. No, that's the Human Garage. Stop sharing. There. Freedom. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Right. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. So the book Freedom, right? It's incredibly important. It's the book that saves the world by this professor. I mean, wrote the Canadian Psychiatrist Association. And it's profoundly simple, yet profoundly important. You can actually get the book on the website, so you can go and see the website, get the book, and if you're interested, you go and get all the, there's videos about it and all the rest of it. So please do go and do that, and let's start this movement, because it is a movement that will help to really end the human condition, the suffering, the psychosis that we're living in right now, and also help in my work, the mind-body pain syndrome, TMS, or psychosomatic disorders, which have a huge element to do with this psychosis that we're living in, this chronic feelings of shame and guilt, which have profound effects on our mental health and also our physical health. So this is actually a journey that I've been going on for many years, because I had a lot of shame and guilt from my family of origin. And, I just want to ask you a simple question. Do you believe that humans are to blame for all this destruction on the planet? I, being a naturalist and naturopath, and, living in this beautiful place in Crete, and seeing all this destruction on the planet, and I was believing for many years that humans just, they're root of all evil, and we should all be catapulted into space, off planet Mother Earth, and then she can finally really, release a huge sigh and thank fuck for those humans that have gone, this kind of mentality that I was living in, right? And there's no doubt that humans have obviously created, this situation in the planet. We're living in this very disconnected lifestyle and all the rest of it, right? But mind-body syndromes, medically unexplained diagnoses, medically unexplained symptoms, mind-body psychosomatic disorders are all on the massive on increase. And, you know, I'm trying to get to the root cause of them, obviously through my work and through my personal experience with chronic pain, right? Chronic symptoms for the majority of my adult life. So we no doubt need to learn how to live more in harmony and collective, with the collective concept and balance. But the amazing thing is that we need to understand that this also can happen easier if we have a mindset shift and a belief shift. And what I mean by that is what I explain on this live, right? So have you ever wondered where this deep internal shame and guilt has actually come from? So we have this inherent shame and guilt as a result of our current pains and symptoms that creates lots of current pains and symptoms on this planet. And this vibration of feeling shame and guilt and fear is one of the lowest vibrations on the David Hawkins chart. I'm going to show you that as well. Which is why it has such a damaging effect on our physiology. So we're either in I'm just going to show you this here, we're either in an upward vibrational emotion or in a downward vibrational emotion. So raised vibrations are, you know, line of, you know, our freedom, love, peace, passion, gratitude. Can I make this any bigger? I think I can. There we go. So this is the strengthening the immune system, strengthening our body. It's living in the rest, digest, rejuvenate, and repair state. And then we have the spiraling down, the lower vibrations, which are guilt, shame, anger, worry, jealousy, all these kind of things, which are basically constricting our body, constricting our the life force, I should say, and having massive detrimental effects on our body, because emotions are basically energy in motion, right? Every vibration, every emotion has a vibration. And this is the work by David Hawkins here. I highly recommend his book, Map of Consciousness. You know, basically realize the spiraling downwards is the feelings that we have that are negative and the negative emotions. And then the line of integrity is here, basically, which is courage, neutrality, and acceptance. And then the higher vibrational emotions are love, as I said before, right? Love, peace, gratitude. So this is a vibrational scale. And you see here, shame and guilt are at the lowest, are 20 and 30. And they're below apathy, and they have a huge detrimental effect on the physical body, your physical experience. And also not only that, but it's the map, sorry, it's the lens that we look through life. So it's not only emotion, it's not only just how we're feeling, right? It's actually the lens, the lens that we're looking through, the glasses that we're putting on to see life through. So that means that it's self-perpetuating as well, which is very, very important to understand, right? So this is just, excuse me. This is just to understand that this is the body of research by David Hawkins, and very important work. The point is that we have to see where all this kind of shame and guilt and fear is all generated from, right? And this is what the beautiful book Freedom is actually talking about, right? We can actually realize that this inherent shame is false. I mean, there was a reason for it, right? So living on Crete in my beautiful lifestyle. I was a research developer, an immunologist in the institute, and I left science basically because I was wanting this more sufficient self-sufficiency, sustainable lifestyle, because I was a naturalist seeking to live more in harmony with nature as a purist, right? So this was really, it was a life decision that I made also because of chronic pain that I had at that time, but also because I wanted to be more in harmony. So I was seeing, and with my former partner, I was seeing the situation that we are seeing more and more of in this world, right? The problems with the lifestyle that we're living and the destruction and all the rest of it. Well, living in sustainability and being the farmer and looking at the behaviors and everything, nature, it was really lovely. I mean, he had a great connection with nature and everything, and we developed this connection together. But he also had, and I slowly took this on, was this hate for humans. I mean, it became very, very obvious that he saw and felt this deep sense of shame and guilt to what we were creating in this planet, right? What we were doing to this planet. And my body responded very strongly with, with this kind of taking on all this stuff. Yes, living in harmony and everything, but look at the humans, what assholes they are, right? And so my body really responded, and I had a very strong flare-up. In fact, I had a massive flare-up, which led me to the road of self-inquiry, self-healing from the mind-body syndrome that I had. And in fact, you could read about that on my Facebook page if you want. But in this self-inquiry and understanding of where all these emotions are coming from, the deep fear, the deep anger, the deep shame and guilt that I had, and that, I stumbled over the work of J Griffith, biologist, and his book, Freedom, where he solves basically the human condition once and for all. And I'm going to be going into what he talks about, but you can read all of this in his book. But it's really, really important understanding, right? So basically, there's a deep false belief that we're all aggressive, savage, selfish, survival of the fittest, have to protect ourselves from our neighbors. Then there is not enough, that we have to fight for our basic resources, which may be to a certain extent true, but we are not generally. We're not, and he goes into the details why in his book, that we're not, it's a myth that we are aggressive, selfish, and savage, right? He explains very beautifully in his book that this is the internal conflict between the light and the dark, the good and the evil, and the internal instinctive brain, and then the higher consciousness or the higher mind, which is our gift to humanity, the cognitive brain, and explains this conflict that arose at some point in our lineage, right, between the instinctive brain and the intellect. And this conflict remains still to this day. So the instinctive savage, we must reproduce our genes, kind of selfish genes, survival of the fittest. We are programmed by our genes. All of this has been very much in the kind of, how we've been taught about our, inheritance and lineage and origins, and that we're actually victims of our genes, because we have the genes are the fate of our, we are programmed by our genes, and therefore they're the fate, we're living in the fate of our genes, therefore a victim of our genes. But this, thankfully, is slowly becoming more and more understood that it's not actually the case with new epigenetics and quantum physics and all the rest of it. So we are competitive, aggressive in nature, and this was a key belief that was perpetuated. I'm just going to do a parenthesis here, because if we have a belief, right, the beliefs are the box that we live within. Without, mostly unknowingly, unwittingly, right, subconscious beliefs, but they affect everything that we see. They affect the filter of the brain. They affect the way that we perceive the world. So if we have a belief that life is hard and we're savage and dangerous, and humans are savage and dangerous. And we then shop for the evidence of that, right? So it's the lens that we are living by and the filter that we're living our life through, so that we perceive and believe everything with that lens on, right? So life is a reflection of our internal world, and if we believe that we are bad and, you know, humans are ultimately bad and evil, then that's what you're going to see also in the outside world, right? Because it's a reflection. So we had this theory from Darwin, the survival of the fittest, the instinctive. We taught this at school. I remember being taught this in my biology classes in my University of Edinburgh, and I remember having, you know, quite a strong reaction to it. In fact, something that didn't quite fit and didn't quite resonate with me. And now I understand why, because as I went through university and going through working in research and development, I realized that there was a huge dogma in science, and religion obviously was promoting this as well, the fact that we are evil and bad and you know, shaming and all the shaming and the blaming that we live through, basically. So in fact, we this is the human psychosis is because of our unconscious animal instinct belief of our bad, that we are bad and evil, whereas in fact it's a human condition that we can, you know, basically wake up from, right? Because it's not true. What divides animals and humans? I mean, it's debatable, but one of them is one important thing is the moral distinction, right? And recently, scientists and biologists have found that there is actually more similarity between us and another great ape that lives in the Congo called bonobos. And the bonobo ape has been shown through videos and documentaries, and you can have a look and see them, and the studies have shown that these animals are incredibly empathic, first thought, and they have an instinctive and deep sharing and caring nature, even to strangers and people coming into their group, like humans, for example, and they are inherently harmonious and collective in their way of living, right? And we were, of course, always connected to the chimpanzees, which is, yes, one of our cousins, but, you know, now we realize that it's not actually, you know, which are animal, you know, are very, very aggressive and very kind of, you know, killers, and bonobos are not killers at all. And they have this very aggressive behavior and very, you know, aggressive characteristics in nature, right? So you see that with our ancestors and bonobos, they were living in harmony, all loving, sharing, and gentle, not killing or aggressive in any way, shape, or form. And then research has shown, like scientists and biologists have gone there and actually looked and studied these bonobos, which are endangered species now, of course, in Asia. But their nature is very much nurturing their young ones for long periods of time. The mother nurtures with this unconditional self-love, selfless love, that the child grows up in this compassionate environment, and so therefore this gets passed on and gets increased over time through the experience, right? The tribe-based experience of the bonobo. And it's very interesting to see where 99.6% share the DNA with the bonobos, and we don't have the origins as in fact from the chimps as much. We're more in harmonious living with this. And you can look at the book, it goes into details about this, so you can really see and, you know, get convinced if you need more convincing. But the point being, this is huge, because this makes us realize that our natural aggressive, savage, and killing behavior is actually not true. And there's lots of evidence, like I said in the book, he talks about cave paintings and all sorts of other forms of evidence that actually show us that we're not in this aggressive, savage, killing kind of, we are not naturally, right? So this human psychosis can be healed by this understanding, and we can start to do it today because it's really, really important. So basically, when you start to, we can actually transcend it because we've been bombarded with statements that like humans are naturally aggressive and make war, and it's just our natural instinct and our natural behavior, and we're humans are naturally mean and selfish, and it's always been an excuse for our lesser behavior basically. And so now we don't actually need that excuse, because we can actually transcend it and realize that that's not actually the case, and it's actually a narrative that has been promoted through religion and science. And I'm putting those together because they're very interconnected, much more so than people think. So we can actually start to transcend that now, and this will be the help to end the internal conflict, right, between that we have. So we have to imagine at some point through our evolution in our history, we woke up from the narrow instinctive behavior that until now we had been kind of lived by, right? So this became a conscious awareness. We became conscious of ourselves and our own thoughts at some point in our history, right? So this is where the battle broke out between the conscious mind and the instinctive based brain, right? So he gives an example of a stork, Adam, I think he calls him, which explains this migratory behavior of birds, and then suddenly the bird decides, actually I want to go to an island that has these apples or whatever, and then there's this kind of breakout of this instinctive brain versus the conscious brain, the instinctive brain being the gene-based brain and based on genes, and whereas the conscious brain or the awareness is more based on experience and understanding, right? So these two brains in us were literally in fight, right? The instinctive brain was saying, don't question me, in a very dogmatic, religious, kind of authoritarian, rigid and fixed way, because that's what we've always done, and therefore we have to do it still, right? And this condemned the other conscious brain, or the kind of more conscious part of us that is following its, which is, seeking to understand, basically, seeking to understand through experience. Understanding needs growth and experimental, right? You see that with a baby. That's how we learn, right? So the instinctive brain is gene-based, while the conscious brain is self-understanding and nerve-based, right? And experiences learns through experience. So this internal battle was born, and this conscious mind versus the instinctive mind was felt for generations to come. But the point is that this is really interesting, because you start to realize that this internal battle you feel and see and hear and embody it every single day. And this relates to our body and it affects our physiology every single day, right? So when you get condemned by initially when you got condemned from the instinctual brain, in the story of the stork, who suddenly woke up and felt like he wanted to do something different from the tribe, the justification and the self-denial, the, wanting to be, protect itself because now it feels under threat, and to understand and has to alienate itself and basically live in this denial that it's not a bad person, right? The human condition, right? And this massive upset that we see in this in life today on the planet, this anger and egocentric behavior, aggressive biological versus psychological upset, is actually the psychologically we're psychologically upset rather than biologically. And this is what the main point of the book is, and most, profound, is because psychological psychosis can be overcome, can be helped, can be healed, right, with this knowledge. And this is what's so profound, and simple, because it's all based on, misinformation or beliefs, limited beliefs. So the awareness, the knowledge of this is basically the need, that we have this deep need for understanding and a deep need for free will, and our instincts can, orientate us, and yet our nerves need to understand. And so we can start to kind of like build this understanding in ourselves, of ourselves, right? So we understand the cause and effect of things by doing things, and you can see that with a baby when he tries, they throw things on the floor. My daughter was growing up, and always, as babies do, is they throw things on the floor, and you can't understand. It's just so annoying. You can't understand why they do that, because they're learning literally the cause and effect. If I throw this, then a bang happens, and then mommy shouts no, or whatever. This is the cause and effect, right? It's exactly how we learn. So for centuries, religious texts have got it wrong. He goes into the Adam and Eve story, the Garden of Eden, eating the apple of knowledge and cast out for forever, as sinful. And this, just the desire for the conscious free will and conscious mind was banished from love and, equality, with this deep shame, with a deep sense of shame behind it. And this is, again, can be all taken away now, because it's actually all wrong. And thankfully, more people are waking up on this planet, and realizing that we're not inherently wrong or bad. We're not savage. We're in fact pure light and love consciousness. We are not just having, we're not just our bodies. We are having a human experience, but we are basically spirit and consciousness, pure consciousness, living through the body. So there was a fight. This battle broke out, and we are the evil against the evil and the bad and the good. But actually, we are originally innocent, and we are not bad actually at all. And so therefore, the conscious brain can now be the hero rather than the villain of the story. And spirituality can prevail, because we can get to the sense of who we truly are, the essence of self, which is, again, pure light and love. And we are a mind, body, spirit complex rather than just our body. So this really helps with our understanding. And it's, like I said, it's been a journey for me from this deep shame, guilt, feeling, fear state, which was causing lots and lots of pain in my body, to this understanding now of, that who we truly are, the essence of ourself is truly good and truly pure. So this is really, really helpful. I'm just trying to see what the time is and see what else I've got to say. So this astronomical guilt-ridden driven program that we've had, and that has been, going in our generations for so long, has to stop. It just has to stop now. But this understanding helps us to stop this moving the guilt and shame and fear-driven programming and experiences to and passing them on to our next generations, because it all happens through experience, right? And it was, a very convenient excuse, as I said, to have this brutal and aggressive behavior, the reason for all conflict and suffering on this planet. But now we can't have that excuse anymore, right? So we need to start realizing that this is an opportunity for us to, science has finally been the redeemer, and literally humanity can be saved. This is, what he says in his book, and it's, so important, because we just don't, we can now bring this harmony back to ourselves, and the moral instincts are in fact creating this, we can start to create this loving cooperation that we can live in, right? So this book has been really, really helpful for me to understand that. And as in the Carl Jung, psychologist and philosopher, wholeness of humans depends on the ability to own and integrate our shadow. So this is kind of bringing in the concept that we no longer have to be guilty, that we can feel the guilt and we can move through it, but we don't have to actually believe it anymore. So the psychosis now can be overcome and healed, and because we are ultimately good, and the split self can be feeling this and feeling the sense of wholeness again, and the sense of unity. Understanding here is key, as I said before. The whole, this denial and escapism and avoiding behavior, which is insatiable, and we're desperate needs for desire, wanting more things and desiring more things, the greed on the planet, the power mongering, fortunes, seeking, we're smothering ourselves in material stuff, because we're basically trying to relieve this internal suffering that we feel is such an, so paramount to our, of our origins, right? So we are not bad, we are not evil, our origins are in peace and harmony, harmonious living, which is, such a relief to the whole nervous system just to hear it. And we can just start to basically bring in and start to love, embody this idealism of love, right? Again, just tell you a brief story. I wasn't able to understand even what that meant before, because I couldn't see it. I could only see aggression, behavior, animalistic instinct behavior. And because I had this belief about humans, I couldn't see the loving behavior until I started looking for it, until I started changing my own experience, internal experience of who I am and what I am. I was literally unable to see it, literally, like I couldn't see it anywhere. I live in the same place, I live in the same, almost the same village, but I can see now a very different story. I can see that there is deep suffering in the human experience, but it's not, it doesn't have to be anymore, because we have a deep sense of shame and guilt and belief about ourselves that we're all morally and inherently bad. And it's just not true anymore. I mean, I don't believe that anymore, what I'm saying. So you can start to change your beliefs by doing, realizing that you had a limiting belief. First of all, you had this limiting belief that you felt you were ultimately bad. And this can come through, beliefs are something that we are basically programmed with. So you might have had this belief since you were a child, because your mother and your father or your peers or your caretakers had this belief. So we actually take on people's beliefs just because of the way that they act out these beliefs, right? So it can be really, really transformational to actually just bring. So I'm just gonna, the Freedom by J Griffith is on the World Transformational Movement Facebook page, so you can go and have a look at that. I'll put the notes below, so you can have a look at that. And his book and all his books actually are free on the internet. And so you can download them, and you can also look at videos, watch videos. And if you're interested, there's also, and if this doesn't resonate with you, it might be because of the deaf effect. So it might just be that you're just like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And not only that, it's like, wow, it just sounds so simple and so silly. That can't be the reason why, there's so much psychosis and suffering on this planet. But if you actually go to and look at the deaf effect, that, you know, this is also a phenomenon that we just can't hear it because we inherently feel shame, guilt, and bad, right? And we don't want, you know, so it's like there's a kind of like a veiling. We just can't see it, right? So go and have a look at that if you didn't resonate. And if you think it's part of bullshit, that's also fine. But the point is that we can, you know, start to now make a real shift in our physiological state through our beliefs in the fundamental essence of humanity, of humans, of who we are. I no longer see them as bad. I no longer think that, you know, people should be put onto a rocket and propelled off the earth to save the planet. I think that we can start to actually create this ricochet and this butterfly effect of our vibrations of love and acceptance. And it starts with ourselves, right? This all starts with yourself. So the, you know, this deep-seated shame and guilt that we feel affects our body, like I said, and our physical body and mental body and emotional body massively, right? It carries such a huge burden. The vibration of shame and guilt is so strong, it manifests in chronic stress, anxiety, and physical ailments and diseases as well. And it can be transcended. It doesn't have to be that way, and it does take some time. It does take some reprogramming. It does take some, you know, extra, you know, to remind ourselves constantly that I'm light and love, and that, you know, that's my inherent and the essence of who I am. And so it can actually be transcended. And transcendence is not rejecting, it's not pushing away, because this conflict, internal conflict, is very strong and very deep, and for generations. So it's very powerful. And yet we can transcend it by bringing a consciousness, basically bringing awareness to it. So the first thing is acceptance and awareness of this conflict, and then understanding and you know, awareness create a different perspective. You see things differently, right? You start to try and find, whenever you feel shame and guilt, where do you feel it in your body? Where is the place in I usually feel it in my solar plexus. It comes up to my, you know, heart area, and I sometimes also feel it in my throat, because I can't speak, you know, I can't speak my truth, right? Comes up to stop me, you know, this, I can't be who I am. I'm not loved for who I am, or whatever. So it just, there's lots of different ways it kind of shows up. And learn, you know, understanding the pattern, understanding when the shame comes up, why it came up, can help. Just being aware of it and you know, soothing. The point is that the shame and guilt and all the negative vibrations that I showed you before in the chart, they actually affect the physical nervous system. They trigger the fight, flight, freeze response and the protection, and you know, that it has a cascade of effects on your body, right? So it does obviously have an underlying a deep response, a physical response in your body, and it's really vital. It weakens the immune system, it disrupts sleep, it makes your muscles more tense and tight, and more pain and more you know, pain and suffering, right? And the second step is to transcend this, is actually bringing compassion and forgiveness. So I write a gratitude diary. I feel forgiveness every single day. I forgive myself for all the shortcomings that I have. I forgive life. I forgive, you know, the universe. I forgive all the people in my life. Compassion and forgiveness are truly key to this experience of letting go of shame and guilt. And this is something that can be cultivated. So you can say, oh, well, I don't really feel it very often. I feel more shame and guilt and fear. So, but these are because our neurons are where the thoughts that create those feelings and the feelings that create those thoughts are, you know, in this negative feedback loop. So it's, you know, we have to start paving the road, or the neurons, the neurological networks, to creating more, well, cultivating basically more compassion and forgiveness and gratitude into our lives. And it starts again with ourself, right? So we've got to cultivate this. And I've seen this happen more and more in my mind-body practice, you know, that people can start to cultivate this experience of forgiveness and compassion to self, and their ailments and their stress, their suffering and their pains and their symptoms are easing, you know. I mean, it's really, really, really important. And I saw that with myself as well. So it's really, really important to actually bring in a habit. I have lots of videos on this on my YouTube channel, bringing in holistic habits that heal, and gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion are absolutely priority #1 keys, because they literally are a different vibration in the body. If we can, you know, you might feel like you're forcing it at first, but if you cultivate this experience of compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude through just sitting down, forcing yourself to experience, you're literally changing your physiology in your body, first of all. And I mean, this has been shown with Joe Dispenza's work, all his stuff, all his trainings. You know, they literally see when people are in a meditative state, and they, you know, there are markers that show how your immune system works. And he has, you know, found within that 15 minutes, I think it was 15 minutes of the meditation, the levels of IgA, which is like an immunoglobulin antibody to help in saliva, was, you know, I don't know what the number was, but it's absolutely, you know, amazing. Like 50 times more. I think it was 50 times more, was higher in after you know, a certain amount of minutes doing this meditation. So it was very fast, right? It was very fast and very and it's very real. So moving into gratitude and you know, developing and cultivating your experience, embodiment of compassion, forgiveness, acceptance to self, less judgmental, and more it's also to do with the fact that you're not in resistance to life. So the more we resist life, the more we resist things, we are creating, you know, friction, right? And this creates also suffering and pain, right? So another thing that I really, really highly recommend and really helps with this is also emotional regulation, learning how to soothe your emotions so that you can actually, so emotions, like I said, are energy in motion, and they can actually either stick in the body, they can get stuck when we clench and tighten and contract and don't want to feel them or push them down, right? So we all know this. If you have chronic fear or chronic anger, I had this very strongly. They not wanting to feel them, not wanting to express them, is like literally creating a pressure cooker experience, right? So we need to get them out. So soothing, learning how to soothe them, sitting with the emotion with the wave of this emotion and allowing it to just you know, riding it, rather than having all the brain circuitry come in and say, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be feeling this, I can't feel this is too much for me, or whatever else that may be going on. If you just sit with the emotions and stay in your body, stay in your, you know, your heart center, stay in the sensations of the wave that's moving through you, it is a completely different experience. And not only that, within 5-10 minutes max, and even that's, I'm talking about a big emotional charge, the emotion will be released. And this is really, really powerful stuff. This is like really, really, I mean, we should be teaching this at school. Every child should know this. I'm teaching my daughter tapping and havening, which is just running down your arms, the sensation, you know, sensory tools basically to help you calm your nervous system and your emotions, right? So havening is one, then you've got tapping, EFT, you've got TAT, you've got all sorts of different EMDR, you've also got, I mean, I have loads of stuff on my YouTube channel, so if you need some tools for soothing, go and see them, because it's a game changer. If we can really just take responsibility for our emotions, let the emotions through us, move through us, then we can actually really take responsibility for our raising our vibrations, which is, of course, if we all remember, we're not just our bodies, we're mind, body, spirit complexes when integrated with the field. So if we can stop, when we release the feelings of shame and guilt and fear, we're actually not only doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it for our families, we're doing it for our children, we're doing it for the collective human experience as well. So I really invite you today to start to learn just learn one simple tool, and you can add tools to your toolbox that will really, really help to upgrade your lifestyle and your ability to experience life and not be feared by your emotions anymore, like I was. So, this sudden emotional outburst, and I couldn't control it. It was very embarrassing. And then lots of shame and lots of guilt on top of that, right? So there's, is a kind of, it's really important that we start taking responsibility for that. And finally, I just want to say, any mindfulness experience, meditation, mindfulness practices really help with this as well. Self-compassion, as I said before, and then challenging the beliefs. So this is, again, really crucial. Examine where the beliefs came from, so where they actually origin from. This is what the whole point of my video was, to kind of help you understand that we have got a literally collective of shame and guilt experience, and it's all based on false beliefs. So be what I call a rule buster, a bullshit rule buster, and start to really examine where are your beliefs and why did they come, and what, is that still serving you as a belief? Maybe it is, but maybe it's not, because a lot of our beliefs we just inherit and we don't actually ever question them and ever wonder where that came from and why do we have it. And if you need some support, because this is really, really deep stuff and really, really deep work, remember, they're not only working for yourself and your physical state and your well-being and your health, but also for the health of your children and your family members, and also the collective health of the collective. So please do reach out to me if you need help to learn about this, to soothe your emotions, to start to become actually a ninja in your emotions, master your emotions. I have lots of webinars on that as well. So reach out to me and I can give you some links. And yeah, I'll put the links in the below for my YouTube channel, and also the World Transformational Movement from the book, the Freedom book. So you can have a look at that as well. And yeah, let's take responsibility and move the shame and guilt that's in us collectively, so that we can move to higher vibrations and create love and harmony and peace on this planet, which is pure essence, our pure essence. So with that, I will love you and leave you, and see you next time.